Welcome back to the Big Grand Show. This is your weekly rundown. I know the weekly rundown's running a little behind. I just wasn't sure how to do this video, and a lot of times I've done it. This is probably about the 100th time now that I've recorded this video. It just doesn't seem right when I play it back. So hopefully I get it right this time. This week's weekly rundown is about Ross Perot. Ross Perot was a great guy, from all accounts. But I learned stuff about him after he passed away, especially from an op-ed written by former Governor Rick Perry about how good of a man Ross Perot really was. So in this video, I will not be discussing Ross Perot, the politician, Ross Perot, the billionaire, or Ross Perot, the businessman. In this video, I will be discussing Ross Perot, a man who supported and loved our wounded veterans. Even when our government wasn't doing its job, he was there trying to help. And last week, Ross Perot died at 89. But for years, he gave of himself and used his own money to help our wounded veterans. One case in particular is a story told by Rick Perry. A story Rick Perry couldn't tell until Ross Perot passed away. Because Ross Perot was not a man who wanted clout. He was not a man who wanted to be popular because he did what he was supposed to. Clearly, the man did not feel that doing the right thing needed cameras around to do it. And I think it's awesome. But let's get to the story, shall we? In 2003, Corporal Alan Babin was a medic serving on the battlefields of Afghanistan. One of his fellow soldiers became wounded, and he went out to do his job to save this guy's life. And in the process, Corporal Babin was shot in the abdomen. Babin, of course, survived, but suffered major complications. A bout of meningitis, as well as a stroke that left him paralyzed and in a wheelchair. And a year later, Rick Perry sat down with his mother, Rosie, and asked her what they needed. And one of the biggest things they had problems with was transportation, to getting him to and from all his medical treatments and medical evaluations and everything. And so Rick Perry said there was only one person he knew to call. And that was Ross Perot. Rick Perry called Ross Perot, and according to the article, he gave nothing but undying support to Babin and his family. Right off the bat, when they needed to get Babin from Austin, Texas to Dallas to see a neurologist, and he was going to have to be there for like 3 weeks, he sent a private plane to pick Babin and his family up, and his mother up, to fly them to Dallas. And you think, oh, well, he just sent a plane, who cares? Well, when he went to the hospital, as soon as the elevator doors opened, who was there? Ross Perot, making sure that the hospital did everything that he needed them to do to make sure that he was comfortable and doing okay. Because Ross Perot didn't want to just see the guy go to the hospital. He wanted to make sure that he was treated properly as a veteran of our armed forces and somebody that gave himself like he did. During the 3 weeks that he was there, Rosie, his mother, had to fly back to Austin because her daughter was having prom, and she didn't want to miss her daughter going to prom. But Alan wasn't left alone. Ross Perot sat there in the room with Corporal Babin while he was in the hospital. As well, he had also supplied a hotel room close to the hospital, so Rosie could be there close to her son. That's just the kind of man he was. But it doesn't stop there. When they got home from Austin, because of hearing of their problems, when they got home and pulled into their driveway, there was a new wheelchair accessible van in the driveway waiting for Corporal Babin. So he'd be able to easily get to and from his doctor's appointments and go where he needed to go. Did you hear about this in the news media? No, you didn't. Why? Because that wasn't the kind of man Ross Perot was. He didn't believe in doing it for fame. He did it because it was the right thing to do. And again, when Corporal Babin had to fly to Washington to Walter Reed Hospital, Ross Perot sent a private jet to pick him up and his family, fly him to Walter Reed, and had an ambulance meet him on the tarmac. That's just the kind of man that Ross Perot was. Ross Perot was your true blue American. If there was a man on the face of this earth whose heart just pumped red, white, and blue through his veins, it was Ross Perot. Not Ross Perot the businessman, not Ross Perot the billionaire, not Ross Perot the politician, but Ross Perot, the man who did what was right by our military because it was the right thing to do. Today, Corporal Babin is living with his parents in an all decked out smart home provided by another donor. And thanks to Ross Perot, Corporal Babin is able to live in somewhat comfort because he was able to get to the doctor's appointments he needed to go to. But my deepest condolences and sympathies to the family of Ross Perot and his friends and anyone that knew him. This is a story that was repeated more than once, but this is the only story that I have heard so far. But I'm told that this happened more often, and I'm sure those stories will come out in the coming weeks, months, and years. But Ross Perot, dead at 89, a true American. Anyhow, this has been the Big Ranch Show. This has been your weekly rundown. I've been your host, Jacob Keck, and I'll see you down the road.